So we're going to do a deep dive into every single setting in Skate and how to make it as realistic as possible, or just find your settings to make the game feel as good as possible to you. So starting off with the general tab, this is like basic UI elements. If you have all these enabled, you can have a bunch of UI elements to help you play the game. So you can see here, I have the visualizer in the middle of the screen, the bottom in the center, so I can see my inputs and stuff. Got the scoring ticker on the left side, and there's also names above players' heads too. So when I'm in the world, you can see names like Nami, and there's Joey over there. So typically, just for more immersion, I usually turn these off. This is all personal preference though. There's also just a few quality of life settings that you might want to do, like, you know, release notes on boot. You might want to see release notes. You could turn those on. You could turn off pedestrians or turn them on. You could turn off traffic. This is just personal stuff that's up to you. Fortunately, you can't get rid of the compass, like right above my head. This compass does not go away at all. I'm hoping that EA updates this and we can get rid of this down the line. So next is the big juicy one. This is the one that you're going to change all of your gameplay settings to make it either more realistic or more harder. So if you take a look at these 3 different control schemes, they're a little bit different. The streamlined controls is the simple new control scheme that lets you just kind of flick in each direction and you don't have to pop essentially. So you can just flick left, flick right, do kickflips and heel flips. It made my camera zoom out. It added the radial menu in the middle of the screen. It added the D-pad. It'll add a bunch of settings to your HUD and your game to make the game streamlined. It also changes your control scheme where you can just flick, you know, up to the left, up to the right. You can see in the middle there, I'm just flicking up to the right to do a heel flip. There's no pop needed. So this is good if you're new to the game, just kind of learning, but it does give you a little bit less control. So the classic control scheme is the classic flick it controls that we're all used to from Skate 1, 2, and 3. And the experience is just the same as classic, with most of the assists turned off to make it harder. And the camera is a little bit different too. So personally, I like to use the experience control scheme, which is like the flick it controls with a lot of the assists turned off to make the game really hard to play. So next, under preferences, and this again will be your personal preference. I'm a regular skater in real life, so I skate with my left foot forward. So like right foot off the board to push, left foot forward, that's called regular. Goofy would be like this. So you'd have your right foot forward, you'd be pushing with your left foot, whatever way feels more comfortable to you. In general, in real life, it's the same as like throwing with your left hand or throwing with your right hand. So the next thing here is flick it sensitivity, and I should have had this at 0. So with 0 sensitivity, you have more control over your sticks, where I can flick my sticks really slow, and I'll get a really slow flip. You can see my controller overlay. Do like a heel flip really slow. I'm barely even flicking it, just kind of softly doing it. So if I change this to 100, for example, this is what my tricks would look like. It's kind of weird. Like I have 100 sensitivity right now. You can still do the slow flips, but it's just a little bit more sensitive or more touchy. So it's just like what it says. The sticks are more sensitive now. So I can do the same movements, same tricks, same slow flips, but the sticks just feel like they're more kind of responsive, whereas the low value will make your sticks kind of feel like you can really kind of just not even flick it. It changes the feeling of the game. So if you have a high sensitivity turned on, it'll typically translate to higher pops as well. Whereas if you have 0, this is flick it sensitivity 0, and I'm flicking the same hardness, I'm getting lower pops with the same movement. But that being said, you can still pop super high on flick it sensitivity 0. You just gotta like flick your sticks hard. So 0 cents will make the game harder because you have to like bend down and really kind of control yourself to get the right pop height. There's forward to medium push. You can use like the forward and left stick to push if you'd like. I don't personally use that, but it's kind of nice if you like to press the stick forward to push. Forward to pump, turn this on, and I'll explain why in the next step here. Back to brake, again, personal preference. I don't use it myself, so I'm gonna leave this off. Hold fakie stance. This is the setting, the one setting in the game that'll make the game feel as realistic as possible, in my opinion, that you need to have this on if you are a big realistic player. And if you want your feet to push with the same buttons at all times, never switch around, or just have like session or skater stall controls, you would just leave this at default. So use front foot, back foot controls off, and swap X and A will onboard off. So let's go through all those settings right there. So with the pushing ones, I have it set to A for my right foot. This is like skater XLR session. I would just, you know, either press A or hold it to push with my right foot. And this actually applies to my other stance too. So if I'm going this way and I press A, it's still my right foot. So that my right foot never changes, never swaps ever. It's really easy to know what foot I'll be taking off the board. And obviously the other foot would be the X button. So if I'm in my regular stance, X would be Mongo push, like this. Usually you don't Mongo push in this game, right? Like people usually want you to push with the proper foot. So when I go like this, I push with A, I swap this stance, and I would push with X to make it look proper. So that's typically how you play a skateboarding game. You push with your back foot, right? So I swap it like this, press the button to swap my feet around, and then press A to push. But that being said, guys, there's a trick in the game called no complies where you need to Mongo push. So if you want to do no comply, you would press X, ollie, A, ollie. And that's how you can do like those tricks. But also you can do backside no complies, so you can spin this direction instead of the other direction if you hold your left stick towards the right as you're doing this trick. So watch my overlay in the bottom corner there. Hold left stick to the right, press X to Mongo push, then ollie. and then he will put his foot over the board to do a backside no comply. It's really cool. And then switch would be the opposite of that, right? So I'd be like this. I would hold to the left with my left stick, press A, and ollie. Pretty cool. You might have noticed when I was landing, like my guy is landing like backwards, and this may or may not be in your settings yet, but this is the held fakie stance. So this is like the true switch in the game. And this is like what they used to have in Skate 3, I think, or Skate 2 might have had this, but you essentially, whenever you switch, your controls never flip around. So initially in the game, when you pick your stance, right, goofy or regular, so I do kick flips by pressing down to the left, down to the right for heel flips. So when I'm in my true switch fakie stance, I switch around like this. If I want to do a fakie kickflip, all I have to do is a kickflip and a heel flip. It's not relative to your camera, it's relative to your stance. So if I want to do like a fakie tray flip, I can just close my eyes and just do a fakie tray flip because I know it's based off my regular stance. And that means switch is based off of nollie. So if I want to do a switch tray flip, I gotta do a nollie tray flip. So here's a nollie tray flip. I switch around, switch tray flip. It's the same input as nollie tray flip. Really sick. That being said, you might hate that. You might not like that at all. You might want it relative to your camera. The held fakie lets you have both options. So when I'm in switch, like this in fakie, I can simply just press X or A and watch what happens to my feet. My feet will change around. And now I'm actually in goofy. Guess what? Now when I want to do tricks, down to the right, kick flip, down to the left, heel flip. You can play the game like Skater XL, or you can play it like Session. It's so sick. You have the option of both in one control scheme. So overall, held fakie is like the premier true switch stance, because when you're in this stance, your tricks actually look switch. That's the reason why people use held fakie, because the controls feel switch and it looks switch. That's the reason why they like it. So if you're like this, you know, doing controls like Session, it's kind of like more ambidextrous, like Shane O'Neill. You're like mirrored. Whereas I prefer it when it feels switch. Like when I switch to switch, it actually feels like I'm going backwards almost, because I am backwards. I'm standing backwards regular. So the last setting that we just explained in that little tab there was the forward to pump. In this game, what you would typically do to pump is you would use your triggers. It's very common in other skate games. You would use your triggers to bend down like this. And if you watch like Stokes videos or even Garrett's recent video, they talked about the apex of the corner. So you typically like you would do it near the bottom of the ramp. But we've been finding out recently that the apex or where to pump in a ramp is like in the middle of the ramp on this game. So you have to pump a little bit higher. So I could use my triggers, but I don't like the triggers because I find when I use it, you know, too hard, he'll bend down and he'll grab the board and stuff. Like I don't like the animation of it because he bends down too far. You could just like feather the triggers and make it not bend down all the way. But I find if you use the left stick to pump, you know, he bends down nice and smooth and he never goes all the way to the ground. So when you have forward to pump, it actually gives your trigger a new animation too, which is kind of sick. I like to use a little bit of both depending on how busy my controller feels at the time of doing tricks. So I'm doing like McTwist and stuff. I press forward right there, forward going down, forward going up, do an indie grab, forward going down, forward going up. I'm using my stick for all of this stuff. So go ahead with the settings, guys. Try to find the best settings for you. I find manual pumping is the best, or most realistic. You get the most speed too. It's also the hardest. So don't feel too bad if you want to use auto pump. If you want a lot of speed though, it's definitely worth it to find out how to pump because you can like go around corners like this. I'm kind of losing speed right now. I can pick up speed quickly by just pumping with my left stick. Probably gap over this. Oh, so the next tab here is the assist tab, and this will make the game either hard or easy to play. If you want to make it hard, usually you would just crank everything down and turn everything off. So typically I would turn all of these off, except for one thing. There's a new slider here called grind assist. So the most realistic setting technically is 0, where you have no grind assist. And I explained this in my last video, but 0 grind assist is pretty buggy at the point where it feels a little bit unfair. Like you'll do a trick and it doesn't, you know, help you get into the trick. You have no magnetization at all. It's very realistic in the sense that you'll probably fall a lot more. You know, you have to line yourself up perfectly. You won't be suctioned to a ledge very easily. So it just makes the game much harder to play. So you can still lock into tricks like that. It looks pretty good. You have to really line yourself up though. So as my personal preference though, and from my experience, I find that 5 and 10 just works a little bit better. Like if you want to avoid the frustration and the buggy stuff, I find even just having 5 is like the perfect amount to kind of fix the bugginess. So if you prefer like the feeling of old skate games, I think 100 grind assist would feel like Skate 3. But if you want a good balance of both, you know, realism, but also have it just work, I think 5 and 10 is perfect. So here's the vert pump assist. If you have this turned up, when you go up a ramp, it'll help you pump. You can actually get a bigger pump if you have this turned off. So if you learn to manually pump, you will actually just get bigger and more air. So there's another setting here called allow fall height, and you can turn it to 0, 1, or 2. So having fall height 0 is the most realistic. because it's like the, you know, you can only fall from a certain height. But that being said, it makes a lot of challenges super hard to do or almost impossible. But with 0 turned on my settings, like if I jump and try to do this, it'll bail. If I just like roll off it though in Caveman, it'll work because it's just not that high. It's not too high to bail. But that being said, if you want to fix that, you can crank your fall height up just to 1 or default or 2, which will make it even easier for you. So having 2 fall height, you could jump from even higher and you'll always land on your feet. 2 is not like, you know, super unrealistic. I can still fall from 2 fall height, but I could just jump higher. Like I can actually jump from this now and land it. So it's just makes it, you know, a little bit easier to play. So for this one, I'm going to keep it at 1 because I like to have a good balance of realism and not, you know, fail challenges. I'm going to do 1 for that. I turn off the friendly or wipe hold threshold to make me fall when I hit curbs and ledges. You might want to turn this on if you don't like that. Minimum pop height amount. This is really cool. So here's 100 pop turned on, and whenever I ollie, it'll always do the highest ollie, no matter how slow I flick it. So super slow flick, super fast flick, doesn't really matter. Same height no matter what. When I have setting 0 on this, it'll make me do low pops. Like whenever I do ollies, it'll just be lower. But that being said, I can still, you know, bend down, press forward hard, and still do a high pop. So this gives me more control because I have the option of doing both control schemes. And now when I want to ollie over stuff, I can kind of, you know, push, let myself up, slam my stick down, slam it forward. You have to really time it though, because it's not going to come easy anymore. So those are the things under difficulty options that you might want to experiment with yourself, guys. And the settings down here are the assist or the onboard helpers. And typically you would turn all of these off if you want to make it as realistic as possible. So over here we have the trick toggle section, and this is the opposite of the assist, where I usually turn all of this stuff on. And under the advanced controls, there's a few things here like quick ollie, sideways control, pre-wind spins, and pre-wind control style. Let's explain what all of these things do. So the held flick trick one is kind of cool. It lets you hold the stick in the direction that you're flicking your board in, and you can do some extra rotations, so like nollie double flip, right? So you keep your stick held in the direction you want to keep it flicking towards. So heel flip, double flip, just kind of hold it there, kick flip, double flip. You can actually do that with like spins too. So if you do like, you know, shove it, you can hold it longer, but it's weird because you can't hold a 3 shove. Like you can only hold shove it. And that applies to pretty much every trick in the game. You can hold like any of your tricks to get the extra rotations or animations. So there's also late flips too. You guys probably know how to do a flip, right? If you do just like an ollie or a nollie, you can do like a trick in the air to get a late flip. Like here's a nollie with a nollie flip in the middle of the air. So with this trick, I basically just like nollied, and then I did a nollie flip in the middle of the air, and then it flicked it late. That's called a late flip. So let's get into slappies now. Slappies are like a new feature as well. And this is all you have to do, just manual. So you would just press down on the right stick to manual. So let me get some speed here and just manual down the stairs basically with my right stick. Only thing is they look kind of choppy sometimes. You know, there's still early access, still beta, whatever this is. So slappy is when you can just angle yourself towards like a really low ledge or a curb and just slap into the curb. It's a slappy 50-50. It's basically where you just don't pop and you can slap into a grind without popping, slam yourself into it. You can also hold your stick down to 5-0, same way that you would on like any rail or ledge. You can hold it forward to nose grind. So almost all these tricks you can do on a slappy. There's a few that you can't, like willies and feebles and smiths quite yet. I think they're working on it though. But for example, I can do like a frontside blunt slide, right? So it says in the air, I'd press down and then go to the left on my stick. So what that looks like in translation is I would press down on the stick, ollie, and then do the skate PD input. That's a blunt. But I don't want to do the pop, right? I want to slappy it. Basically, what you would do is the input without popping. You would have to use your left stick to angle into the curb to slappy, but you have to really slowly angle yourself with the right stick because it'll typically do a pop shove it if you're too quick with it. Let me try to bend down, slowly angle and do it. And there. One slide slappy. So let me go like slappy, no slide, bend down, spin it over like that, bump it out. Oh, get out of there. Like back nose blunt slappy, and just don't scoop it too hard because you'll probably do a shove it by accident. It's all about timing. So the next one is wallies, and this section right here at Market Mile is a great place to practice because it has like both options for wallies. With any wall in the game, you can just ollie at a wall, it'll suck you into it and just land it. The game kind of does it for you. There's also stuff like this where you can just ollie at a straight wall and you'll pop over it. So it's all about timing too, but you would typically just ollie at the wall, like at a certain point, right there. I popped right at the right time, right when I was like too late to get over the wall, so the game registered it as a wally. If you pop it too early, you'll pop over the ledge. But if you do it late, the game should register it as you want to do a wall ride. And you can combine like all these different tricks together. So you go off the wall for a wall ride, like this. like shove it. There's also just ollieing out a wall too. So now that I have wallies turned on, I could ollie at the wall. It'll angle myself to land it, but you can also do tricks at it too. So say if you want to do like a kickflip wall ride, you can land on the wall and do it. You can actually do ollies off the wall too, like tricks off the wall, kickflip off the wall. So if you like ollie and foot plant, you can do that off the wall too. So let me try this, like a ollie at the wall, grab the board with my right trigger, kick off the wall. So that is like a wally mechanic. I could even like do it off the ground to the wall. Or you could even like ollie at the wall, let all 4 wheels touch, and then do it off the wall. I don't know. Just different combinations. So you can actually go up walls with your wallies too, like ollie at it and kind of angle yourself going up the wall. And you can do some really weird looking stuff. The last few settings was no complies, which we already kind of went over, but there's also 1 foot ollies too. So you can ollie in the air, press X. So the same way that you have your controls set up for your pushing. So I have X on my right foot, A on my left foot. You can press those buttons in the air to take them off the board. So press X, left foot off the board. And that applies to your grabs too. So like when you're doing like 1 foot grabs and stuff, press A, take my right foot off the board, like that. X, left foot off the board. 1 foot, but you could just do it with ollies too. So ollie north, like ollie, press X, 1 foot off, ollie, press A, back foot off. It's pretty useful for like extra style. You can like go off a ramp like this, like a kick flip, catch it, kick your foot off. I don't know, it's sick. Other than that, there's quick ollies, sideways control, pre-wind spins, roll-ins, and anti-pumping. Quick ollie is a good one. You just slam your stick down. Pretty self-explanatory. You just put your stick down. No need to press forward. It's the same thing that you can do in Skater Excellence session, I believe. You just press down. It's especially useful for like getting up curves and stuff, you know, just ripping at a curb like this, and you can just press down quickly, get up a curb. The next one is sideways control, and people don't really know this very often, but if you want to pop any direction at any time in any situation ever, use your left stick. So not moving at all. If I'm like this, go down my stance and hold forward on the left stick, it'll pop forward. If I keep holding forward on the left stick, he will keep popping forward. Right? So if I'm standing still and I'm like down like this and hold left on the stick, you see how the board turns? It'll actually pop towards the left as well. And this is the best way to show it off, because when I'm down like this, if I press down on the stick, I can go backwards. That is directional pop. That's how it works. And that applies to anything in the game, like grinding. So if you want to just like bump out of a grind, you can press left on your left stick and it'll bump it out. But you don't always want to fall out on the same side that you're grinding on, right? So sometimes I want to go like this, do like a slappy, and say I want to go to the left, you would just press left. That isn't directional pop though, because I'm not popping. A directional pop would be using that mechanic with a pop. So like holding left and popping. And that's how I can do like flip tricks and stuff out of the grind over the coping. You can use the mechanic to like kind of be parallel to like a ledge and like hold to the left, and it should pop you to the left, you know? So you can use the mechanic to kind of pop sideways. So I can like do a trick like this. If I press forward and just keep flipping the board, I'll never ever fall out of it because I'm pressing forward. I want to land forward, right? If I want to go left, I press left. If you want to go right, you press right. Directional pop is so powerful though that you can actually go backwards. So if I press down on the left stick, I can actually go backwards where I came from. Like that's just insane. All right, so pre-wind spins, and there's 2 different options here. I'll show you guys both options. So right now I have held and spin direction turned on, and I find that's pretty good. So to pre-wind, you press down on the right stick to go into your pop stance. And to pre-wind, you would press down on the left stick and then wind it to the left or to the right. Your skater won't turn anymore because he's locked into pre-winding. Your left stick will no longer turn your guy's body. It'll only pre-wind. And when I pop, I want to hold my left stick in this position, hold it there forever. And I'll do a 360. Down on both sticks, hold to the right on the left stick, and then just kind of whip it around. Another little tip though, you can actually use your right stick to angle yourself right and left 90 degrees. So when you're doing these 360s with the pre-wind, you can add 90 degrees because you see how you land 270. So down both sticks, pre-wind to the right on the left stick, hold it there, 270. If I just simply kind of kick my right stick to the right as I'm 360ing and doing the pre-wind to 360, I can finish the whole rotation. You can actually do like 540 doing that too. So if you do like those things, and then you combine that with like a rotation of your left stick in a circle, you can 540 on flat ground. I find that hold and spin direction is the best option for me because the input is already being pressed the second that you leave the ground. There's no input delay at all. The other option for pre-wind is flick and spin direction. It's the opposite though. So I'd have to press down on the right stick, down the left stick. If I pre-wind to the left, I'll have to ollie, then flick my left stick to the right to spin. Pre-wind to the left, flick left stick to the right as I'm ollieing. And then that being said, you can also add the 90 degrees too with your with your right stick. So I find this one might be the most realistic feeling, but it does have a little bit of an input lag sometimes because sometimes like your controller might be moving from left to right still and you're not really turning until it gets to the far side of the controller. So I find hold and spin direction just has like less input lag because you're already inputting the input to spin, if that makes sense. The roll-ins are pretty easy to kind of figure out. It just lets you roll into transitions. Yeah, there you go. So roll-ins will let you kind of transition into the ramp easier from the coping. So if you're on the deck of a ramp, you can go into the coping easier. We know about pumping, how you have to pump at like the apex of the ramp, right? And anti-pumping is the opposite of that. So it'll keep you grounded. So whenever I go over humps like this, anti-pumping is what keeps me on the ground, or tries to. So if you get a lot of speed in this game, especially in transition, you'll end up flying off ramps, but the anti-pumping will keep you grounded over humps like that. Go back over this ramp, pump up it, pump down it, I'm kind of grounded. If you turn this off, it'll actually make the game a little bit harder to play. I angle myself at this circle, I'll even push. And you see how I'm getting airtime now? So even like going out of this hump too, it might even happen like right here. Got a little bit of airtime there. The anti-pumping would have prevented that. So the next stuff here is my camera settings, and you guys have already seen what my camera looks like. If you guys like my camera, here's my settings. 3 and 3 follow strength, 80 field of view, maintain camera distance onboard offset, and camera framing low. So if you have a low follow sensitivity, it makes the camera behind you follow the skater smoothly. So if you turn this up to like 10, it'll make the camera follow the board exactly. So now whenever I turn, the camera follows exactly where the board is. So the board and the camera is always perpendicular no matter what. So there's also camera offset, which changes how far the skater is from the center of the screen. So 0 is centered. You guys might prefer like 4 or 5. I've been using 4. And there's 2 options for cameras too. So this is the low camera where it's kind of focused on the board. It's a lot lower to the ground, but there's also high camera. You see how it zooms out? So now when I play the game, it's like much farther back. So I pretty much copied my sensitivity and stuff and my field of view into my offboard settings. All the offboard stuff is just default. I don't really mess with it too much, but just the 80 field of view. Some people might prefer higher field of view. Some people might prefer lower field of view. I personally like to use 80 because this looks and feels like my Skater XLR session settings. So this is the same settings that I would kind of look and go for with other skateboarding games. Now the advanced camera controls is where it gets kind of cool. So for my settings, personally I like to have it all manually done, all realistic as possible. So I turn switch side controls on, dynamic side switching controls off, and camera height control off. So with these camera controls, my camera will never change sides. It'll always be in the same position at all times. So let me go a little bit slower here, slow down. When I do 180s, camera will never switch. If you have dynamic switching sides turned on, your guy will always be oriented facing inwards like this. Like your guy's chest will always be facing the middle of the screen. So it'll switch sides automatically. But since I'm doing it manually, I have to click my left stick in to switch sides. So say there's like some cars over here coming at me on the left side. I don't want to see them come at the camera. I can press my left stick in, kind of avoid them. And other than that, that is pretty much all the stuff that I've messed with in the game. I turned off camera shake intensity. I turned off the high speed effects and the camera shake intensity. You guys might like that if you would like the camera shaking when you're moving fast. And there's also a setting here called collision horizontal offset. If you have this at a high value and the game detects that there's an obstacle in your way, the camera will move sides automatically. I don't like when the camera moves at all. I want to do it all manually. So I want to have it at 0. So the last settings here, obviously guys, you got to turn off the music if you're a streamer or YouTuber like me, and also the voiceover, disable V. One little tip that I have left for you is that if you want just a cleaner looking game, I guess, I personally have been using borderless full screen because I use OBS, but the best way to play the game is in full screen. If you want the highest frame rate in the game, play on full screen. And another one here, so there's upscaling. I think by default, the upscaling method is on FSR, but if you turn upscaling off, you'll actually have the better graphics. So there's no upscaling happening. If you have a 1440p monitor or a 4K monitor, you're looking at the screen at native 1440p now, or 4K. So look at stuff in the distance, guys. It's gonna be hard to see. So here's XESS. I'll zoom in on the video to like the little bridge in the background there. You see how it's all fuzzy? FSR, still kind of fuzzy. But I do upscaling method none. Like everything in the background is just crispy because the entire screen is full 1440p now. If you're a streamer or a YouTuber, and even if you want just a clean gameplay for yourself, I personally turn off the motion blur, especially if you're getting clips and stuff too. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope this helped you out. It's a little bit longer form than my other videos, but I think this is going to be one of the better videos that I've made on the game. If you liked the video, guys, make sure to drop a subscribe on the channel. Also follow me on Twitch for more live streams, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.